one of the most famous power metal bands. They are SABATON from Sweden. And let's say that SABATON together with Powerwolf from Germany, they are the two hot power metal bands that they bring many metal fans inside metal. But together with this, from the other hand, we have some people that they don't like SABATON at all. So let's today speak about SABATON. SABATON, they started from Falun from Sweden. They started in 1999, and until now they made 9 studio albums. Not only that, but their first album, it had to be the album Metallizer, and they made it in 2002. But unfortunately, they didn't succeed to press it to make it, and unfortunately they put it aside. So their first album came afterwards in 2005 by the name Primo Victoria, and Metallizer, they published Metallizer only in 2007 as their third album, but in the reality it was to be their debut album. Now, in 2012, they had a split inside the band, and from this split, only 2 original members, they continue to the band, and they are the masterminds of the band, the leaders of the band, Joachim Broden as their singer, and Per Sandstrom as their bassist. Also, I have to say that Per Sandstrom, one of his sisters, if I'm not sure, she lives in Israel, in one of the kibbutzim, in the kibbutz of Israel. And let's also say that most of their lyrics, they are about historical events and about wars and history of the wars of many nations. All their albums, there is lyrics except the album Metallizer. The members that left the band in 2012, they made another band by the name Civil War. Here I will try to rank their albums. There are 9 albums of them, but also I have to say that there is another band in Israel, an Israeli band, that they play very common to the sound of SABATON, and also with lyrics about historical events and wars. And I'm speaking about the band Desert. Also, they were support to SABATON in one of their live concerts of SABATON in Israel. And if I speak about Desert, they have 3 albums until now. And here is their first album of the Israeli band, power metal band Desert, Star of Delusive Hopes. Their second album, and my favorite of mine, by the name Never Regret. And their third album of 2019, Fortune Favors the Brave, also with a very nice cover art. Okay, someone that likes SABATON, I say to him to also to try to find the Israeli power metal band Desert. Now, here let's rank the albums of SABATON from worst to best in my personal opinion. So, in the 9th place, I will put their 9th album, the last album of them, of 2019, The Great War. Here also I have the history edition of the album. Now, I put it in this place, in the last place, only because this is a little bit more melodical from the other albums. Let's say that SABATON became even more melodical and even more melodic and even more mainstream from Carolus Rex and afterwards. But in this album, they became really melodic. Okay, a little bit more poppies in the pop direction, in my point of view. And for this reason, I put this album in this place. Also, in this album, the theme, the central theme of the album is the events of First World War. Now, in the 8th place, their 6th album of 2012, and speak about Carolus Rex. And I know that there may be many people that like SABATON. Also, they like very much this album. This album also became their mainstream success of them. Also, they made this album in an English edition and also in a Swedish edition. They sang also in the Swedish language. But in any case, for me, this is a little bit more melodic from their sound. So I will put this in this place. And also their central theme of the album was the history of Sweden, of the Kingdom of Sweden. In the 7th place, their 3rd album, but let's say that it was to be their debut album of 2007, but they made it even in 2002, and speak about Metallizer. This album is the only album of SABATON that they don't have themes of war and history in their lyrics. And the sound of the album is even a little more close to Judas Priest. Now, 6th place, their 7th album of 2014, the album Heroes, also a nice melodic SABATON album. In the 5th place, their 8th album of 2016, and I speak about the album The Last Stand. Great album, I liked it a lot. Also, it's melodic, but I liked it a lot. Also, it began with the song Sparta. It speaks about Lacedaemonium, about the story of the Spartans and their king Leonidas against the Persians in the war of Thermopylae. Great album, also in my opinion. Fourth place, their 4th also album of 2008. Also, many people liked very much this album, and I speak about the album The Art of War. Also, it's their basic theme is about the book of Sun Tzu, the Chinese master of war, and his philosophy about war. Many people also they like The Art of War, but I liked even more the album, their 5th album. So here comes their the 3rd place, their 5th album of them of 2010, Coat of Arms. Also here they wrote a song about a war of Greece. In the Second World War, it was a war between Greece and Italy. Also, my grandfather, my name is also Mordechai Frizis. Also, his name was Colonel Mordechai Frizis. He was one of the few Jewish Greek colonels that he was a great hero of this war against Italy of Mussolini, and also he fell in this war. So the song Coat of Arms speaks about the war between Greece and Italy in these years. Also here they made a song about a Holocaust, the final solution. Great album. But even more great I will put a great album. For me, comes in the second place, their second album of 2006, and then speak about Atero Dominantus. Great album. Great album. Also here they have an anti-Nazi song, Rise of Evil. The theme of the song is about the rise of the Third Reich in Germany, but also is a very great album. For me, the albums that I like a lot from Sabaton is their first albums, Primo Victoria and Atero Dominantus. And so, in the first place, their debut album, it was to be their second album, but in any case, this is the real debut album of 2005. And I'm speaking about, of course, Primo Victoria. I started to listen to Sabaton from this album, from the beginning. And in these years, in 2005, they were not famous at all. At all. Great album. Also here they made a song, they wrote a song about the 6-day war of 1967 of Israel against the Arab countries, and this is a very pro-Israel song by the name Counter-Strike. Great album. So, from Jerusalem and from Israel, here also the song Jerusalem, yes. Protect the Holy Land. In any case, stay metal and stay heavy.